Hello and welcome to Calamity News and Politics. I'm David Chadrick, and today we're going to talk a little bit about this whole thing about overturning the election, and how much it's not just concerns me, but it really frightens me. Um, so let's start with this. The only person who is saying that any election or voter fraud happened is unfortunately Donald Trump. Other people are agreeing with him, but all of the evidence is coming from Donald himself. And that's the problem. Uh, all of these lawsuits, they've all been dismissed because they don't present any evidence. And then they go back and say, well, we couldn't present the evidence. We didn't have any standing. That's why they're filing the lawsuits they are, is so they don't get standing. If they got standing, then they wouldn't be able to BS. They'd have to present the evidence that does not exist. And I'm sorry, folks. If you're a Trump supporter in this point, you believe that there's election fraud, I don't know what to tell you. You're so far against what's going on with your party's own line. So you have a conservative Supreme Court with 6 conservative justices against 3. 3 of these conservative justices were picked by President Trump. They have rejected his lawsuits. Okay, that isn't something you can lightly dismiss. These are 6 conservative judges to 3 liberal judges, and no judge would accept it. So when you're questioning the election, you're now not just questioning the election, you're questioning the Supreme Court of the United States. So now you're going against Congress, and what Congress is shown to be true over and over again. So 2 out of the 3 branches. So the one person in the executive branch is saying it's fraud, but nobody in the other 2 branches will follow him. So we're not talking about a bunch of bleeding libtards who are trying to stop this insanity. Okay? We're talking about the DOJ, the head of the DOJ, William Barr, resigned because he wouldn't investigate election fraud. And his successor wouldn't either. So there we are. The Department of Justice has weighed in on this, and they dismiss Louis Gohmert's suit. So Pence said, no, I don't have the authority to unilaterally overturn the election. Basically, Louis Gohmert's entire lawsuit was, if he had won, Pence would have the absolute right to choose who the next president was. And he didn't even have to choose Donald Trump. He could change it to anything he wants. That is scary. That they think that the vice president somehow has the power to choose what electorates he wants to accept and what he doesn't. No, even Mike Pence went back on that and went, no, we can't do that. You need to dismiss it. So Mitch McConnell has acknowledged Biden as the president-elect. There is nobody out there to support any of these claims. You can wander around and talk about wild fraud. That just isn't there. I'm not going to tell you that there isn't fraud. They did find fraud. Okay? Now, on a couple of occasions, it did not turn out well for the president, because one of the fraud, the most blatant one, of course, they were in his favor because he asked people to vote twice. and to try to do this to prove that the election system was rigged. So now we've got a poor guy who's facing a felony because he did something that the president asked him to for no reason at all. I'm not even going to go into the crap about, oh, this is a fundraising effort. I don't care. What I care about is democracy, and this is really scaring me to death. So why do we have a number of Republicans in the House and in the Senate that somehow want to grandstand on the election certification on the January the 6th? Why would they want to do that? Why would the president ask armed people to show up? Why doesn't that scare you? I don't care, whether you're not a Trump supporter or a Trump supporter. Now we're talking about someone who's trying to say that our elections are invalid. And I've got guys like Ted Cruz and Louis Gohmert, and you say, well, these are respected senators. Why would they be doing this? Because, dear Trump voters, you're a huge political bloc that they want to keep. They know all of this is not going to do anything. They don't have enough. Even if they all did this, they couldn't decertify the election. There is no process for them to do so. So this is not a real thing. But I'm worried that a bunch of people, Antifa and, of course, like the Proud Boys, the whole white nationalist kind of groups. Now, so we're going to put two armed groups together, and you're going to go out there because your president told you to, and Antifa is just going to show up because they're opposing you. They don't need any other reason that you're going to show up, so they are too. When the weapons start cracking off and people start dying, you do realize that there is going to be sedition here. The second you fight to overturn the election, you're going to be guilty of sedition. Penalty for sedition is unfortunately death. So think about the stupid thing that you're planning to do on January 6th and don't show up. Don't do it. Why would you want to die because Ted Cruz smells blood in the water? He knows that Trump isn't going to run in 2024. He's going to be beset by legal problems, and let's face it, health problems. And I'm not saying that for any other reason than he is not a young man. And the presidency is not easy on anyone. I'm not sure that in another 4 years he'll be able to do another 4 years. And I think Ted Cruz and his cronies realize that as well. So now they want you, the big Trump base, to vote for them in 2024. So the big Ted show is I'm going to support Trump to the end, and I'm going to commit treason in order to do it. Please don't do this. Just say no matter how you feel. Do not show up. Do not cause trouble. Let this stupid stunt happen. Okay? And then when the 20th happens, it happens. And whatever happens from there, happens. But I just am worried that you are not thinking through the consequences and the damage you're doing to democracy by actually saying this election is in some way invalid. That means every election from now on is going to be considered completely invalid. And if you don't think that teeters us on the balance of dictatorship, then you've never read a history book. You've never read a history book. And I'm not going to cite the obvious example because everybody jumps on that bandwagon. But it happens in other places. That's how Pol Pot came to power. So think about that. Mao Zedong came to power that way. Is this really the way you think America should go? Well, I'll talk to you next week, and I hope things are better by then. I'm hoping for good reports. Stay cool, stay calm, have a great day. Bye now.